righty. So, hello and welcome to Third Eye Sister Souls podcast. I am your host, Monique Brunette. And on today's show, I will be conducting my first solo interview with Dr. Melanie, who, like me, is also a lifetime experiencer. Also, if you are new to my YouTube channel, if you can please like and subscribe, it helps to get these shows more known. If you're on the road and would like to just listen to the podcast, you can find this show on Spotify under Third Eye Sister Souls podcast. And finally, if you would like more interaction, check out Third Eye Sister Souls podcast and more on our Facebook page, where you can interact with group members and post your own experiences if you like. So, and now I would like to properly introduce my first guest, Dr. Melanie. But before I do, I will give you a little background on her. Dr. Melanie has a master's of social work and a doctorate of education. She has been a private psychotherapist since 1985. Since her near-death experience, she channels while doing Reiki and is a Rife practitioner. Dr. Melanie has taught at the college level and has led multiple workshops. She has been interviewed by podcasters. She works with experiencers and helps remove negativity from people, animals, and dwellings. Archived episodes of her internet radio show are available on www.drmelanieshow.com. Her Conscious Awakening Network channel is Dr. Melanie. She has written 4 books, and they are available on Amazon. And I can tell you, she is an amazing writer. So now, Dr. Melanie, I am giving the floor over to you to share a little bit of your history on yourself and your experiences. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Monique. It's nice to be here with you. Yes, I've been an experiencer my whole life, and it comes from a long line of psychics in my family. My mother's mother, Granny Mildred, would see spirits, and she would see little green men, she said, from Mars. She played the Ouija board. She did all kinds of spiritual activities, and she would change religions periodically. When something didn't fit, she'd go switch to something else. Her daughter, my mother, she also was psychic, but hers would come and go. So for mom, like for instance, the Columbia shooting in Colorado, Columbine shooting, she saw that before it happened, but she didn't know what was going to happen. She didn't know what it was.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's her. And then for me, when I was a young child, we lived in a house that used to be a doctor's office, and it was haunted, but we didn't know it was haunted when we moved into it. And so I would see this little boy sitting on the roof, and he was blue, and he was sitting there holding his knees, and he was dead. And I could see him and he could see me, and it scared me. And so I wouldn't go upstairs by myself. I had to have somebody go with me because I was afraid. And in that room, there was a wardrobe. And it's like the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe story. But this was an actual wardrobe, and there was a spirit that lived in the wardrobe, and he was a Native American chief. I didn't find out till later he was one of my spirit guides. But he would be in there, and when I'd go up to bed at night, I'd beg my parents to take me up there. And when they'd leave, they'd say, "You're a big girl now. You need to go upstairs by yourself." "No, no, no, no. I'm scared. I'm scared." "You'll be fine." "No, no, no." So I would hide under the covers because I was scared, because he could see me and he could read my mind and he would communicate with me. And I finally got brave and said, "Why are you here?" And he said, "I'm here to guide you." And I said, I'm a, 8, 9-year-old girl. Why do I need guiding?" He said, "You don't understand, but later you will." And I said, "Well, you got to leave." And he said, "Yes, and you'll forget me." And he said, "Just like Robbie." I had forgotten. Robbie was an ET that lived within me or around me from the time I was probably an infant until I went to kindergarten. And he said that he couldn't go to school with me. And I asked him why not, because we did regular activities together.
Wow.
And he said, because your teacher can't see me. And because I was a very sickly child, now I understand I was so sick because I didn't really fit in a human body, didn't match up with everything. And so when I'd be talking to him when I was laying in bed sick, my mother would say to me, "Who are you talking to?" And I'd say, "To Robbie." And she'd say, "There's nobody there. It's your imagination." I go, "No, it's not. He's here." "Well, don't do that because they're going to think you're crazy like Granny Mildred." So it was like, oh, Granny Mildred can see Robbie. And so I finally understood that he couldn't go with me to school. And he did go away, but I forgot about him until the Native American chief reminded me.
Wow.
So I lived through that fear. And finally, the Native American chief went away. And then when I was a junior in high school, my mom and my sister and my younger sister went to New York State because my sister was getting married and they went to meet the groom's family. And I was sick, so I couldn't go. So I stayed home. And at school, at church that day, we had a Sunday school paper that talked about a missionary family in Africa encountering ghosts and spirits. And it scared me so much. When I read that paper, I took it downstairs and put it in the wastepaper basket. I didn't want to see it.
I can imagine.
Yes. So when I got up the next morning, I went in my closet to get my clothes out for the day. And that paper that I put in the wastepaper basket floated down off my shelf in my closet.
Oh,
Scared the socks off me. And it's like, ugh. So I ran downstairs with it and this time took it out to the burn barrel because you were allowed to burn when I was growing up. And so the rest of the day, I sat in the chair by the front door waiting for my mom and sisters to get home because I was petrified that there was this evil spirit that was in Africa that was in my house.
gosh, I could only imagine. I could only imagine. Excuse me, I forgot to turn this fan off, and so
Okay.
the show's a little noisy at first. Well, it's my first go around.
It's okay.
Go ahead and continue, Melanie, Dr. Melanie.
So when I was a senior in high school, I was supposed to go to Philadelphia College of the Bible to become a missionary because I was a very fundamentalistic religious girl at that time. Well, my parents couldn't afford to pay their portion because they had just divorced the year before. And so I was very, very sad and I didn't know what I was going to do. So I enrolled in a community college at nighttime because I didn't want anybody to know I didn't go off to become the missionary that I told everybody I was going to do.
Oh,
So one night in October, I'm laying in bed, and at 3 o'clock in the morning, I was awakened by this shimmering figure at the end of my bed. And the figure said, "You will go to Rochester." Well, that's where my sister lived, and I didn't want to go to Rochester, New York. I was enrolled in college. I was doing what I was supposed to do, and no, you will go to Rochester. So within 48 hours, I had dropped out of college and I moved to Rochester, New York, because I learned if they tell you to do something,
oh
it's
yeah,
better to obey. So I did.
that's pretty amazing. That's really impressive. Uh,
Yes.
I don't know how I would react if a being just suddenly showed up and said, "This is what you're gonna do."
Well, that has been the story throughout my life since then, that when they need me to do something, they will show up
Wow.
in form and they will tell me this is what you're going to do. So the next experience, 6 weeks after I moved there, I was 18 and a half, and I went on a blind date on the person's birthday, which was February the 4th, 1970. And I met him and thought, okay, he's nice. And we continued to go out for the next 2 weeks. On February 14th, 10 days after I met him, we became engaged. 10 days after I met him.
Goodness. That's a quick engagement.
So I met him on his birthday. We got engaged on February 14th. We were married March 29th, 1970, 7.5 weeks after we met.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's pretty quick.
that was pretty quick. And it lasted 40 years
Uh,
because I was determined to make it work, even though it probably should not have. But I was bullheaded and it's like, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to see it through.
oh, I
So,
can relate.
yes, yes. So I was told that I could never have children because I didn't ovulate. But I was told I was going to have a child.
Mhm.
But how am I going to have a child when I was told I couldn't? The doctors told me I couldn't. So I went to the doctor because I was sick and something was wrong and I didn't know what it was. And the doctor would not examine me. He wouldn't do a blood test. He said, "You just want to be pregnant."
Ah,
I said, "Okay." So I went home, but I still remained sick. So I went, thinking, okay, I believe in them. They want me to think I'm having a psychosomatic pregnancy. All right. So I went to the GP and the GP says, "I think you're pregnant." I said, "No." The gynecologist said, "I can't be." He said, "But I think you are." So this is back when they had to have the rabbit die,
yes.
to prove you were pregnant. So they did the first test and they lost it. So they said, "We need you to do another one." So I came in and I did another one. This was probably a week or 10 days later. So the second one I did, well, they didn't have the material to test it. So they froze it. By
Ah,
the time they got the material to test it, it wasn't good anymore. So they called me and they said, "You're not going to believe this, but we need you to come and do a third one." By this time I was 3 months pregnant.
oh my
So
God.
I get the third test and they said, "You are pregnant." Well, I never heard from the gynecologist until I was eight
Oh,
months pregnant. And we got this bill in the mail for this office visit. And my husband wrote a letter back to the gynecologist and said, "We wouldn't mind paying for this figment of her imagination, but it's going to be a real thing in another month or so." So when I had my first child, that gynecologist, we were all lined up in a ward, all the women, and he walked down each bed and he picked up the clipboard. He saw my name, put it back down and walked on, and we never got another bill. So that
yeah,
was a child that wasn't supposed
you
to be born.
for
Yes.
wait for wasting your time and trying to convince you that you would never be able to have a child. And
Yeah.
oh,
So don't say never.
right.
So after my son, Garth, was born, about 13 months later, I'm feeling sick again. And I'm thinking, no, it can't be. Well, we had moved into a new apartment in Syracuse, New York. And if anybody wants to look it up, it's 701 Catherine Street in Syracuse, New York. Well, it turns out that was a haunted house too. I guess wherever I went, they were following me or I picked them up. So what would happen is because I was pregnant, I was very tired and I would take a nap in the afternoon. And when I take a nap, there'd be this knock on my headboard and the person would say, "Melanie, Melanie, Melanie." And I'd wake up and I go, "Who's calling me?" There would be nobody there. And when I go down to the basement to do the laundry, I could see a man standing beside me, behind me. He had a short hat, I think a Borlo or whatever, a little thing on the top and a short rim.
Okay.
And I could see him out of the corner of my eye. And it was like, and I'd look, there'd be nobody there. So at nighttime, you would hear hammering and sawing at the workbench below my kitchen. Well, my neighbor who lived next door to me, she would hear it too.
Oh,
And
gee.
we would say, "There's something weird about this." So we agreed that we were going to get on our phones because you didn't have cell phones then. You had long extension cords. She was going to take her phone. I was going to take my phone. We go down to the basement together and confront whatever this was.
I remember those
So,
imported phones.
yes. So we very cautiously walk down the stairs. And as soon as we get to the workbench, the noise stops.
Oh, wow.
So the next day, I go over to the landlord who lives across the street and I said, "Can you please tell me what's going on at the house?" And he started laughing. I said, "Why are you laughing?" He said, "The guy that built the house, he died at his workbench in 1942 or whatever." And I was like,
Okay.
"Oh, so there's really a spirit there." And the other thing that would happen in that house is on the radio, they would play a song. It's called "My Melanie Makes Me Smile." And I'd hear the song and I go, "That's usually something you'd never hear." So
Right.
I'd call the radio station and I'd say, "Can you tell me who the artist is that's playing this song?" And they said, "We're not playing that song." "Yes, you are. I can hear it on my radio." "No, we're not." So I'd call the store where my husband was the manager. I'd say, "Turn the radio on right now." And he would, and he'd tell me it was playing. I said, "No, it's My Melanie Makes Me Smile." "No, that's not playing." Well, come to find out, that song is a real song, but it didn't come out till the next year.
Oh my gosh, that's pretty amazing.
So
That's
you
pretty
can you can
impressive.
go look it up. It's My Melanie Makes Me Smile. You can go listen
Wow.
to the song.
Well, you mentioned Syracuse, and my mother is from upstate New York, and she used to have her own little salon in Syracuse. So,
Oh, well, ask her if she remembers. It wasn't too far from downtown. It was in the Polish Italian neighborhood where we lived. I,
okay,
I can show you a picture. You can post a picture of the
I would
place.
love to show her that. It'd be pretty
Mm-hmm.
interesting to
Mm-hmm.
see her reaction.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
so I want to ask you a question here. What was the defining moment for when you realized the life you had always known was no longer resonating for you anymore? And was this um, once you had your first NDE? Oh, I'm sorry. I guess I should let you
It's okay. No, it's fine. That's the defining moment.
when you had your first NDE.
No, the second one. The first one was in July of 1980.
Okay.
We were out looking at houses to try to purchase a different house. And we went to this house and we were walking on the deck, and I got stung by four bees. And I'm highly allergic to bees. So I started to go into anaphylaxis.
Yikes.
Luckily, I had some Benadryl in my purse, so we shoved him down my throat so my throat wouldn't close. We drove as fast as we could to the emergency room. They got me there and they pumped me full of epinephrine and breathing treatments and all that kind of stuff. And my husband asked the doctor, who was a friend of ours, "Hey, Dr. Chuck, how much longer did she have until she wouldn't have been alive?" And he said about 5 minutes. Because as I was in the car, I was starting to rise out of my body. And my kids said, "Mommy, please don't leave us. Mommy, don't die." And so I came back in. So
Wow.
that was my first experience, but that wasn't life altering like the second experience. The
Okay.
second experience was during surgery. It was February 26, 1991. I was having a bladder tack-up surgery because I'd had a hysterectomy and the parts don't stay in place.
Right.
So they were doing a surgery to help because I have a bladder disease called interstitial cystitis, which is like arthritis of the bladder. It shrinks and scars and hardens.
Mm.
So we're doing this procedure, the surgery. And during the surgery, my blood pressure went so low that I left my body and I did the tunnel that they talk about. And as I'm entering into the tunnel, my son that I miscarried in 1975, we would have named him Mitchell, he greeted me there. He was 16 years old, the age he would have been had he lived, and he knew me and I knew him. And we hugged each other and I cried. And I can't believe I get to see you. I get to hold you. And he says, "Come on, Mom. I want to take you to meet the others." And I just didn't care about others. I wanted to be with him.
So you
And
immediately knew that
yes,
was him.
yes,
Was your
yes, there was
child.
no doubt whatsoever.
Wow.
No.
Okay.
So he said, "Come on, Mom. I want to have you meet the others." And I said, what? "Yeah, come on. I want you to meet the others." I said, "Okay." And so on my PowerPoint presentation I did about my paranormal experiences, I can send that to you so you can also show it. But we got in a little blue rowboat and he stood up in front and he paddled standing up and I sat on the seat in the back. And we went across the water a very short distance. When we get to the shore, I see Granny Mildred, Native American chief, Robbie the ET, my neighbor who died from a brain injury, and my school friend, Judy Gillette, who died from being hit by a car. They were all there.
Holy cow. That's pretty wild.
It was. And I said to them, "Oh, do I get to stay now?" Because it's a very lovely place. You don't want to leave. It's very loving. It's very peaceful. It's
Nice.
very energetic. And it's not anything you can describe here on earth. And so they said to me, "No, we have to send you back, but we're going to show you pictures of everything that's going to happen in your life going forward. You won't remember those things until they happen, but we're going to show them to you." So they did. And then they said, "There are two reasons we're sending you back. But before they told me what they were, they took me to this space. It wasn't defined by any dimensions, but it was a space. And it was like electricity, different colors, different frequencies. And they said, this is God. And then they showed me
Wow.
how we were all connected energetically. And they said, watch. And so when one did something, it affected the whole. And they said, it's one, and that we were all part of the one. And what one does impacts the whole. I
Right.
said, okay. So then they said, the reason you have to go back is that we want you to love the unlovable till they can love themselves. And that includes your mom, because my mom was raised by strangers because her parents had mental health issues, spiritual issues. And so I said, okay. And the second thing is they said, we are going to send clients to you. They will not know that we've directed them to you, but you will. And you will recognize that they are a gift we're sending to you. Your job is to open up the gift and to bring the present that's stuck inside to the outside. And I said, okay. And then whoosh, I was back in my body.
Wow.
And
It's
then
been pretty incredible.
it was because I was married to a minister and I was a minister. When I went back to church, the language didn't fit, the Bible didn't fit, everything that I was taught didn't fit. I was interested in recycling. I was interested in the environment. I was interested in animals. I was interested in consciousness and spirituality. And none of that matched what I came from. None of it matched my training. None of it matched my belief system. And I said to my husband, I am not really comfortable in church anymore. And he thought, well, you better get over it because this is what we do. It's like, it's archaic. It doesn't fit. It's man-made. It's not what I experienced. Well, he didn't want to hear it because that would affect what we did for a living. And so I squelched it until just couldn't anymore. I couldn't hold it in anymore. So I began developing connections with people, meditating, consciousness raising, um, helping them get in contact with their spiritual guides, meditating more myself, doing all kinds of things that felt more real and more connected than anything I ever did.
Well, actually, this brings me to my next question that I was going to ask you. And that is, after you realized your true path, were you ever hesitant at first about sharing your newfound freedom with those who were closest to you? Now, you said about, you know,
Yes. So what happened is about 18 months after I'd had the near-death experience, I was asleep, and they took me out of my body and they took me to the in-between place where people go when they die, but they don't know they're dead. And
right.
I was able to see the people. They were like zombies. They couldn't see me, but I could see them. And they took me above that in between place and they said, we're going to give you the opportunity to make a spiritual leap. If you choose to do this, you will not be who you were. And in that experience, my husband at the time was with me in that experience. He said, yeah, I'll go too. So I made the leap. He didn't. When I came back into my body, I was not the person who left. And when I came back and I woke up and they told me, don't talk about it, don't mention it. When I came back, he knew I was different. He said, what's wrong? I said, I can't talk about it. He got very angry and I got afraid because I knew what his anger could lead to. And so, against better judgment, I told him. And he said, I would have jumped with you. I would have made the leap.
Wow.
And in actuality, he didn't. He
Right.
followed on my coattails. And so that stunted my spiritual growth from that would have been the end of 92 until I got divorced from him in 2009.
Wow.
So that would have been in about October. And in November of 1992, we had gone to Washington, D.C. because my son was in seminary training to become a minister. It was over Thanksgiving weekend. I was asleep in the hotel. a spirit showed up again at 3 o'clock in the morning, stood beside me, and said, "You are going to open up a holistic healing center." I said, "No, I'm not. I'm happy with the pastoral counseling group I'm in." And the spirit says, "No, you are going to open this up." When I woke up the next morning, I told my husband what happened. He said, "No, you're not. You're
Oh,
very happy in what you're doing. This would
oh,
upset our
he's
finances."
gonna
And
decide for you.
yes, yes, yes. So within 90 days, by February of 1993, I had a holistic healing center with two therapists, massage therapist, financial planner, chiropractor, and nutritionist within 90 days.
Wow,
Because
that's
that's
amazing.
what they told me to do.
I
You
have
know,
to tell you, you blowing my mind though. Real quickly, you mentioned about uh being in that um I call it the middle ground. I was told when I was doing my series is he called it Caspella. It's the middle ground dimension dividing the upper and the lower dimensions. And 4 nights ago, I had a double sleep paralysis.
mm,
And I went the farthest I've ever been, and I ended up in this place and nailed it to a T because I saw these souls. This just happened to me 4 nights ago. I saw like there was a lot of like lost and wandering souls and stuff there and being different beings, but like I remembered seeing these youths, Asian youths, and when I looked their eyes, how you describe the zombie, it's not like they're passed on, but like the how do I put it? The life force or whatever, the it's just their eyes, it's like totally just like there's nothing there.
a
It's
blank stare.
so hollow. Yes.
Yeah.
And I just had to bring that up because you blew my mind when you mentioned that.
Mhm.
So I'm sorry. Go continue with.
So when I didn't follow the instruction, I didn't do what I was told to do. Things got worse in my relationship. In 2008, I suspected there was activity going on with my spouse and somebody else, and finally came to a head.
Mm,
And God revealed to me that I was free to go in January of 2009.
okay.
We had gone to a spiritual retreat and we were to walk on the beach and get our spiritual direction for the year. And as I did that, God said, "You're free to go." And I said, "No, no, no, I wanted to heal. I don't, I've been married almost 40 years. I don't want to go. I want it to work." And it was just very clear, go.
Right.
Well,
Well, it was doing nothing for you.
because I didn't listen, I got colon cancer.
Oh,
I
geez.
got a tumor on the hepatic flexure. And to me, that was the result of me not following instruction. So the way I left before I knew I had cancer, but I was anemic. I had gotten down to 96 pounds. I was so fatigued. I had vertigo. I didn't know what was wrong. And I finally walked out it was the end of June of 2009. And once I walked out, I knew the karmic debt that I had with him. I could feel it cut as I walked out the door.
Well, they do say that the toxic, unresolved issues that we have in our life will manifest themselves or whatever through our actual physical health. Then we'll,
Hmm.
oh, I'm just going to notice running out of time. So what we'll do is we will continue this, but I am going to have to start a new call so we can continue.
Okay. Okay.
All right, we are back from a little short break. And Dr. Melanie, I would love to continue hearing about your experience. Please continue.
Okay. So when I had separated from my spouse, then I found out why I was so fatigued and had anemia and vertigo. I was diagnosed with colon cancer, and I recognize now that that was the price that I paid for not paying attention, that I wasn't following intuitively what I was told to do. And it isn't that it made me sick, it's that my body just couldn't cope with all the stress of not doing what I was supposed to do. And the result was my body broke down and I got the cancer. So I say the tumor represented the dysfunctional marriage. And so when it was removed on 9909. That was the day
Oh,
they removed it.
wow. That isn't that a symbol right there?
Yes. Prior to that, I had had five what we called TIAs. It's like a stroke, a temporary ischemic stroke. So I had all the symptoms like having a stroke, and I had it 5 times. So I entered the hospital on the Sunday before my surgery on Wednesday. So that would have been, I guess, around maybe the 6th of September. And so they didn't know whether to do carotid artery surgery first for the blockage that was causing the temporary paralysis, or whether they should do the hepatic flexure, the tumor removal. Well, they decided to give me heparin to thin my blood. And as they did, then I wasn't able to eat. I wasn't holding any food or water or anything.
Oh,
And so
wow.
they made the decision they would go ahead and do the surgery to remove the tumor first. And they did. Well, afterwards, I hemorrhaged. So I was hemorrhaging and recovering from the surgery from removing the tumor. And so I was really, really weak and very scared and not knowing if I was going to survive it or not. But I did, thank goodness. And
Goodness.
as a result, so I had the tumor removal on 9909, and then I had the carotid artery surgery the next Wednesday was 91609. I got out of the hospital and I wasn't getting better. I couldn't take care of myself. I couldn't work, so I had to close my psychotherapy practice, had to move in with my daughter in Tallahassee, Florida. And I was very weak. I couldn't figure out what was going wrong. They said, oh, it was just slow recovery from the cancer. I said, no, I think it's something else. So eventually, I met somebody at a recovery meeting who I'd known where I had lived in Charleston. He says, you have all the symptoms of Lyme disease like me. I said, well, I've been bitten by ticks multiple times, but they never tested me because I didn't have a bullseye rash. And I said, well, this person and another person at the recovery meeting said, well, we go to this place in Tallahassee. We suggest you go there. So I did. I went there in February 2010 and I was properly diagnosed. I had Lyme disease with 7 co-infections. I had
Mm,
Hashimoto's. I had heavy metal poisoning. I had a benign tumor in my frontal lobe. Um,
wow.
just everything was off. And so that was why I wasn't getting better. So I had to have treatment there. That clinic saved my life. I was that ill that I wasn't going to survive it. And that clinic got me back on my feet. And in the process of getting back on my feet, I decided I had been offered to do a radio show. And I thought, well, I can't work. I didn't have anything I could do. And I applied for disability and I got approved on my first try because I guess having the big C helped get approved.
Yeah.
So in January of 2011, I started my radio show, the Dr. Melanie Show. And I would interview all these specialists from all these different illnesses that I had to help me get better. So as a result, I got in contact with all these people and they told me methods to do and what to try. And they worked and I got better.
That's amazing. A lot of limeys. I'm also a limey, as
I
you
know.
can relate. In fact, my recent tick bite where I didn't have, luckily, it didn't have anything, but it stirred up all the old Lyme and it made me quite sick. So yeah, Lyme is a very serious thing.
So during my recovery, because I continued to meditate, they showed me in meditation that I was to build the house where you got your tick bite most recently, that I was to build this house. And I said, how can I do that? I don't have income. I can't, I'm not well enough to work. And they said, you're going to build it. And so from the time they showed me that in meditation, 2010, in 2013, I met my second husband after being divorced since 2009. And then he died 10 months later. So I thought, well, I can't do it now. But they said, you are going to do it. And so from the time he died in 2014, by 2020, I had enough money to pay cash to buy the land to build the house on.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So when you follow what they tell you to do, it's amazing how things fall into place. But
That's
when you don't, it's like nothing fits.
that's true.
So,
That's so true.
so what else do you want to know?
I would like to know after your NDE, near-death experience, what was the hardest part about returning to ordinary life again?
I didn't feel like I fit in time. I felt out of my body. I had three-quarters of who I am wasn't in my body. So I kept bumping into things. I kept dropping things. I kept hurting myself because I wasn't in my body. So I went to a special kind of chiropractor who helped me to get back in my body. That I didn't want to be in my body because being out of my body felt more normal than
Right.
being in my body. And so I made the decision that I had to be in my body to do the work that I was supposed to do. Since they sent me back, I might as well accept the assignment and do what they asked me to do.
Well, yes. And, look at you today. It's amazing all the things you have accomplished. I know you've helped me and you've helped many others. So we are very glad that you are here and that, it wasn't your time to go.
Mhm.
It's been amazing. So, did your understanding of death completely change after your experience?
It did. Death doesn't exist. You go into a different state, a different form, but you don't die. And when you're there, you know everything. You
Man,
have all the answers to all your questions. You see everything, you feel everything. And it's kind of like being in a room that's 360. You can feel, you can see, you can sense, and you know.
nice. Well, I
So,
feel like this will really help, uh,
mhm,
especially people who are new to all of this and are trying to get an understanding of that everything that they thought was reality and that suddenly, because it can be quite intimidating for people.
yes.
Um, so having people like you to be who've had near-death experiences in that, this can give them some kind of relief,
Hmm.
Certainly has
Hmm.
helped me too, listening to your stories. So was there anything during your NDE you still struggle with to fully put into words today?
I am continually watching for an event they told me was going to happen because I try to predict, okay, is today going to be the day they're going to show me something? And when it happens, it's kind of like you're looking at a storybook and you open that page and there it is. And it's like, oh, yeah, I remember that.
Right.
And when it happens, I go, I just know that. I don't have to be convinced. I just know it. And then I ask myself, well, am I making it up? Did I really experience, did they really show me that? And so I'll ask them, give me validation. Help me to know that I'm not lying or making this up. And they will. They'll give me validation. And I'll go, okay, thank you.
Isn't that wonderful? Yes,
Yeah.
it's truly a great thing for when they can validate you. Um, I'm gonna move on here with questions so that um, we got to wrap up our show here. But what has been the emotional cost of walking this path?
I don't match with people who are concerned with the day-to-day chaos going on in the world because I look at what's behind all of it, and all of this is just chaos to make you not pay attention to what's going on behind the screen. And so I remain calm. And when people try to engage me, oh, aren't you upset about this or that? And I go, no, because ultimately God's in charge. And whatever is here today isn't going to matter a year from now or 2 years from now. So I don't get upset over it. And I just go, my job, because they told me we don't have time to get into all of it, but I am part of the Council of Eight. I am the daughter of Shiva, who is a watchers, Sheeva. And my job that I accepted when I came back into this life was to be the calmer, the facilitator to help people become aware that you are a galactic being and you have a reason to be here and you agree to come in to do something. And my job is just to help people become awake.
And what a terrific job you have been doing. I think you have helped countless people on their journeys, including myself. Um, so now my question is, what do you believe that people misunderstand most about experiencers?
They think experiencers have a cog loose or there's something psychiatrically wrong with them, that if they were fully present, that they would say, oh, it was a figment of my imagination or it was a dream. But it's not.
No.
It's more real than the day-to-day stuff that we're experiencing.
Yeah, this is I like to say that this is kind of like this is the dream state and the awake state
Yes,
is
yes, that is correct. That is accurate. Yes.
and last but not least, my last question here is if someone listening is going through similar experiences in silence, what would you want them to know?
There are a multitude of people that have been through and are going through what you're going through. You don't have to be alone. You can reach out to me, Dr. Melanie at gmail.com, or you can go to my Facebook page, Melanie Barton Bragg, and message me. I will get you in contact with some groups that can help you. And I recommend people join the Citizens for Disclosure movement, part of the New Paradigm Institute, because then you can do something active wise to help bring about disclosure and to do it with a group of people that aren't going to call you crazy or they're going to work with you to help this disclosure to happen.
This is so good. You just saved me from asking you if you could let our viewers know how they can reach you. So you basically read my mind.
Good, good.
So, and on that note, we are now going to end this interview. And I just want to say thank you very much for agreeing to be my first guest on the Third Eye Sister Souls podcast, where I'm doing solo, being the solo interviewer now. And I just want my viewers to know that, I greatly appreciate all of you. And we are grateful to have guests like you, Dr. Melanie, and that to open, get some awareness out there and understanding, and that fear is just something that is part of control. And when we engage in, or we get ourselves caught up in this fear, and that we are no longer living life, we are then becoming mind controlled robots, and we don't want to ever be that.
No.
So. All right, folks, and that will conclude this show. And wherever you are out there, we send you light, love, peace, happiness, joy, and Have an amazing, wonderful day, evening, wherever you are in the world. I'm Monique Burnett from Third Eye Sister Souls podcast. Good night.